This is the new BMW iX, and it's a bit like the Apple iPhone 13 event because it's BMW revealing its technology flagship to the world. Now in this video I'm going to tell you all about this car, which is a built from the ground up EV SUV to take on the Tesla Model X. So I'm going to talk you through the exterior design, the interior design, practicality of this car. I'm going to take it for a drive. I'm going to test out some of its tech, see how well it really works. I'm also going to do a bit of a range test on it to see what kind of range you can expect from this car in the real world. And of course, I'm going to launch it because I'm Matt Watson when you're watching Carwow.
Buying a new car? Then head to Carwow and my team will help you find your next car at a fair price. Carwow, your one-stop car buying comparison site.
Let's start this video by talking about the most controversial thing about this car. Now, I'm not going to lie, first time I saw the iX, I thought, what an ugly motherfucker. However, it is starting to grow on me a little bit. I like the sleek lights. These are the laser lights. I like the air vents, the fact they're real. I even like the kidney grille that's not a grille, it's just a stuck-on plaque. But the design is interesting, and I like the way that they've integrated the car's sensors into that panel. You can't see them. Not so sure about this bit though, the way the kidney grille, not a grille, hangs down over the rest of the air intake here. It's sort of like a muffin top. Now, the M Sport model gets a more aggressive front end with bigger air intakes to make it look sportier. Moving down the sides, you get wheels starting at 21 inches, which also helps make it look sporty. These are the 22s. However, because they have these black rim to it, the wheels look smaller than they actually are. Now, there's no fake vents or plastic add-ons at the side. It's all very clean and crisp in terms of the design. And the door handles, they're just electrically operated like that, which I quite like. However, the rest of the side design, I'm not so sure about. It just looks a bit blobby, doesn't it? Let's just move around the back. Come on. See, I like the back better. I love the design of these tail lights. I always like the fact that BMW has integrated the reversing camera into the BMW badge. I'm not so sure about this that they're doing at BMW at the moment, where they're putting little diffusers where exhaust pipes would go. I know they need to add some form of texture and shape to the rear bumper, otherwise it just looks like a big expanse of plastic, but I wonder if this car is just plain hideous or the design is a bit like the i3 in the way that it'll eventually grow on you. Is it a big horrible facial mole or a beauty spot? Let me know in the comments. While the exterior design of this car may be polarizing, I've got to say this interior is absolutely gorgeous. Well done, BMW. You have knocked it out of the park with the inside of the iX. I just love the minimalist look of it. This huge screen here just looks super high tech. Again, test it out in a moment. The textures and the feeling of the leather, although if you're a vegan, darling, you can of course have your interior made out of recycled materials. And anyway, this leather, it's sustainable made, well, unless you're a cow, because they use olive oil or whatever in the, what is it, tanning process or something? Anyway, sustainable. And that's a big thing at BMW right now, sustainability. And I'm going to sustain talking about how I love the design, such as these air vents are so cool. They really are. Got a hexagonal steering wheel. Not so sure about that, but I like the fact it's two-spoked. They should have just done it round, really, like on the old i3. I love that steering wheel. But this car has some upgrades on it. So it's got this crystal effect for the iDrive controller here. You've got crystal glass for the volume control, crystal glass for the rocker switch for the gear selector. And then there's this walnut panel here, which has your shortcut buttons integrated in it for the infotainment system. It's absolutely fabulous. Now here's a cutaway of what the center console looks like in the standard car. It's not quite as nice, is it? Anyway, we've also got some crystal glass here for the seat controls and here as well. Obviously, optional, you have to pay extra. Thing is, this particular car I have here to test is fully loaded. You're looking around £95,000 for this one with all the bells and whistles. However, the starting price for the iX range is about £70,000, though already you can save around £1,700 off an iX through Carwow. And if you want to see how much money you can save on a new car, just click on the pop-out banner up there or follow the link in the description to go to Carwow. Alternatively, simply Google "Help Me Carwow" and my team and I will help you choose the right car for you and get it for a fair price from one of our trusted dealers. But let's continue with the interior of this car. So being electric and it's built on a bespoke electric platform means you have loads of space in here. Look, I can put my feet here and there's this nice center console with space for charging your mobile phone. There on the charging pad, you've got two cup holders down there. You've got a deep central cubby here. All very lovely. Huge door bins, which I wish I had a bottle to test it. In fact, I'm going to get two bottles to test it. Look, you can fit two bottles in there. Lovely. Glove box though. Where's the opening? It's there. It's not the biggest, but it's not the smallest. Oh, I quite like the fact they've got this different textured material here on the lower part of the dash. All very good. However, there is a way that this car is less practical by the fact that they've made it minimalistic. So there's hardly any buttons, which means that it looks clean, the design, but it does make things a bit more of a faff to use. For instance, climate control, you have to operate it through the screen. Fortunately, you have some temperature quick access buttons here that are always on the screen, but if you want to go and do things like fan speed, you then need to go into the climate control menu, and there's lots of different functions here. And this brings on to the infotainment system. So it's BMW's latest iDrive 8, and there's so many different things you can do with it. And at first glance, it is rather confusing because there's loads of different apps, different menus, but it's very customizable. So you can move the apps around, have whichever ones you want on shortcut. And once you get used to it, it's quite easy to swipe between the different tiles and lay it out just as you want it. It also has various intelligent features. So with the climate menu, for instance, it all works together in terms of the seat heating, the steering wheel heating, the general climate to get the car to the exact temperature you want it. Then you've got the navigation system, which is really nice and crisp, really nice, fast responsive system. It's intelligent as well, so it'll do traffic routing for you. There's so many cool features about it. And of course, if you don't want to use BMW system, you can just connect your Apple or Android phone wirelessly and run Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. And if you have Apple CarPlay, not only can it show the mapping there from Google, it can also show you mapping here on the digital driver's display. Now, you can't do that yet with Android Auto. Typical, eh? However, there will be an over-the-air update which will enable that feature later on. Now let's just look at this digital driver's display, because in the past BMW's system was a little bit kind of basic. It didn't have so many features, but they've really upgraded it here. So you can change between different views, you can have lots of different information displayed there, and it's nice and crisp. And when you go into the different driving modes as well, which you do by pressing the button down here, you can actually change the look of the display itself. As for the seating position, well, we've got an electrically operated steering column, and I went to the seat down there because that's how it's always been in BMWs, but they've gone Mercedes styly now by having up here on the doors. And yeah, you can get a good view out of this car. I think if I was buying this car, I wouldn't have this black trim though. I would go with a lighter color. In fact, this is what it looks like with a cream interior. I like that. Here in the back of the iX, it's really, really comfy. There's loads of room. So plenty of headroom, even though you've got a glass roof, doesn't eat into headspace at all. There's loads of knee room. You can really stretch out your feet as well. And because it's an electric car and your battery's underneath the floor, and there's no prop shaft like you'd have in an internal combustion engine car, you don't have an annoying lump on the floor. Instead, there's loads of foot space. Look, so if you need to carry 3 people, yeah, everyone's got room for their feet, and the car's really wide, so you can carry 3 adults in the back of this car, no problem at all. That's awesome. I also like this feature. So the ISOFIX anchor points for a child seat are covered, and you just reveal them by pulling this up. That's a really nice solution. I love that feature. Also, there's no annoying cup holders in the armrest, so you can comfortably lean on it because the cup holders are hidden within the armrest itself. I like that, or the fact that you get through loading there, so you can carry your skis and 2 people when you're off to the Alps. And then other practical features, these nice expensive feeling pockets on the seat backs. You've also got 2 USB-C charging points on the back of the seats as well, so you don't have to traipse cables over people's legs, so they're normally in the center console on other cars. Speaking of which, you've got 4-zone climate control here, big door bins, and quality here in the back is lovely as well. I am impressed. Now let's look at the iX's boot. So electrically operated tailgate, obviously. Wide as well it is, though when you open it up, the opening isn't quite as wide because you have these extra safety lights for when you're opening the tailgate in the dark at the roadside. So the capacity is 500 litres, which is reasonably big, but small when you compare it to some other electrical SUVs. For instance, a Mercedes EQC has a boot capacity of 660 litres. And if you want to see my full in-depth video review of that car, click on the pop-out banner up there or follow the link below the video. However, you do have a completely flat floor, which is really good, so it makes it easy sliding items in and out. Plus, look at this, you have some underfloor storage for all your cables, and I even like the way that there's a little section there for your net so that you can actually put that in the car if you're carrying a dog in the back, so it doesn't slobber over your back seats or come flying through into the front of the car if you suddenly have to brake. I also like this feature, you can lower the rear seats like that electrically by pulling these buttons, and if you look there, you can see you've got a smooth, continuous boot floor. What's not so good though is that while this load cover looks posh because it's solid, it's not as practical as one of the folding tonneau covers you get in most SUVs, because when you want to remove it all to fit loads of stuff in your car, there's no place to store it, so you end up putting it there, and if you put heavy things on it, it might damage this parcel cover. And that brings me on to 5 annoying things about the iX. While visibility through this part of the windscreen is really good because you've got a low dash, unfortunately in the very centre of the windscreen it's not so good because you've got a huge pod with all the forward-facing cameras for the driver's aids and the rear view mirror actually blocking some of your view through here. Look at this, parts of this car are made out of carbon fibre. Therefore it's going to be lightweight, right? No. This X50 version actually comes in at 2.5 tons. When you're manoeuvring at lower speeds, the brakes make this weird squeaky noise like you've just run over a family of mice. Sorry, Mickey. You can get some nice accessories for this car, such as a roof box and a cool bike rack. Also, you've got this little hole here where you can mount a table for your laptop or iPad. Though this just feels horrendously cheap and nasty. It's really fiddly to use. So that folds down like that, and then it's all a bit floppy, so you have to extend this bit, and it's, oh, it just is not in keeping with a car that costs as much as this. I'm sure they could come up with a better solution, and it's an absolute bugger to remove, because I want to show you another one that they've got. Look, there's the coat hanger. That's the wrong way, obviously, Matthew. Yes. It's so hard to remove this. It's clearly not been built by the same people who actually built the car. Seeing as this is an electric car with no huge internal combustion engine up front, you've obviously got some extra storage space underneath the bonnet like on a Tesla Model X. Actually, I forgot. This BMW iX has a bonnet you cannot open. So how the heck would you go about filling up the windscreen washer fluid? I've no idea. Oh look, the BMW badge opens and it appears to come off. I'll be keeping that. Anyway, look, you fill it up here. It's dead simple. You just put your washer fluid in there like that. And that brings on to 5 cool things about this car. Oh dear, now looks like I've had a bit of an accident. Thankfully, the iX is fitted with something called radiant surface heating. So there's infrared panels in the doors and this part of the dash which exude extra heat. So as I'm driving along, it should help warm my loins so I dry out quicker. Seeing as all the car's sensors are beneath this panel, you might be wondering, what happens if I get a stone chip or scratch it? They're not going to work anymore. Well, actually, this plastic has special self-healing properties. And when you apply heat to them, any scratches or chips should magically disappear. You might be wondering, where the heck is the blind for the panoramic glass roof? What happens if it gets really sunny? Or I've got bored of dogging now and I don't want people to look in anymore. It's easy, you just press a button and the glass blacks out. It also does it when you park as well, so you can hide the interior away from prying eyes. I really like how this car has cool, frameless windows and soft close like a luxury limousine, if you can't be asked to shut the door properly yourself. The iX has an amazing surround view camera system, really high definition. Obviously you can look all the way around the car, you can change the views as well, and it has that BMW 3D effect where you can just look all the way around the car like it's a graphic, and obviously the car is the same colour as the one you've bought. Then check this out, you have camera cleaning. So if they get dirty, it doesn't matter, you don't have to get out and clean them. So cool. It's time to drive the iX. As part of this, I'm going to do a range test. So we're starting off with 94% battery. I'm going to drive for 200 kilometers and see how much battery I have left to work out what the real world range will be. So BMW says the maximum will be 600 kilometers, but what kind of energy efficiency will I get out of it? I'm actually going to start out on a twisty road and we're going downhill, so that should help the range. Oh wow, you've got plenty of performance from the dual motors. This thing actually has 536 horsepower. If you have the lower power iX40, you only have 326 horsepower. Well, that should be enough. Oh, it really does put its power down very well. Obviously you've got 4-wheel drive. Now I'm going to put the car into sports mode, which is a bit of a faff, so I've got to press this button here, then get it up on the screen, and there we go, sports mode. And now I can't see where the heck my map is. Well, I can see where I'm going again. So this is a heavy car, 2.5 tons, but it actually disguises its weight pretty well because that big battery pack is low down in the floor. You have a low center of gravity for a high riding car. The brakes are actually fairly progressive for an electric car. Sometimes electric car brakes can be grabby, but not these, which is good when you're trying to control the car down a steep and twisty road such as this. Woo! actually grips really well. It doesn't lean too much in the bends for a tall vehicle. Obviously it's no sports car, but it handles as well as many other SUVs. One of the good things about it is that as I'm braking, I know that I'm putting energy back into the batteries. So maybe I'll actually end up with more battery when I get down this road than I started with. In fact, I'm going to put the car into braking mode now, so when I lift off the accelerator, it automatically slows and it will actually bring you to a complete stop. I don't actually want that at the moment. I do quite like one pedal driving though. However, until you get used to it, it can make it feel a bit jerky, so it's not great for your passenger, is it, Jack?
No.
Whoa! Done half shift though, this thing. So you can have a bit of fun in it. Oh my gosh, it's quite quick down here. Woo! And so after all that driving down the twisty road, I've still got the same 94% of battery left. I haven't used any energy. That's good. Right, we're coming into a German town now, and the directions, I'm a little bit confused as to where to go. Thankfully, this car has augmented reality sat-nav. It's saying I've got to go round here. Okay, I get that. What's the next bit though? I'm not lost. Help me out, technology. Oh, I've got to go up there. Right. Doing those kind of manoeuvres around tight towns in a car this big would be problematic, but it does have rear wheel steering, which makes it able to make tighter turns than you'd think possible. Another thing that I've noticed in this car is that the view forward to the centre part is really good because of that low dash. Also, the heads-up display is absolutely brilliant. It's so clean, it's really projected on the road in front of you. I like that. Another good thing about this car is the suspension. You've got adaptive suspension as standard, and it can alter the stiffness depending on which driving mode you're in. I'm in the comfy setting at the moment, and over bumps, which I'm seeking out. Yes, there we go, to test the suspension. It's really good. This car is super, super comfy. It's actually easier and more comfortable to drive around town than you would imagine. A thing like this though does need to be good in town, doesn't it? It's going to be used on the school run a lot. Finally, we're on the Autobahn, so it's given me a chance to test this car at higher speed. I've got the adaptive cruise control on, and it's doing that thing where it keeps me a safe distance from the car in front, steer to keep me in lane, so it's all very easy, and you control it using this single button on the steering wheel. Now I'm pootling along. When I say pootling, I'm actually doing 120 kilometers an hour, but it doesn't seem that way because it's just so quiet in here. You see, this big SUV is actually quite aerodynamic. It has a drag coefficient of 0.25 CD, if that means anything to you. What it translates to is very, very little wind noise at all. Just a little bit of fluttering from around the door mirrors, but that is it. There's hardly any tyre noise either. All I'm hearing is the other vehicles around me as they whiz past in the opposite direction. It's so quiet in here. That's a lorry going past, by the way, if you can hear that. Seats are comfy as well, and I could, if I wanted to, enjoy some music because this car has an amazing Bowers & Wilkins upgraded stereo. I love the way the speakers are integrated into the door panels, and you've also got speakers in the headrests here as well for a full immersive experience. Now I've got the sat-nav doing its thing, taking me on my way. Thankfully, I've got more than enough charge to get to where I want to go. However, if I didn't, the satellite navigation would automatically plot me a route to take into account charging locations, and it would precondition the battery to make sure that it's going to charge at the optimal rate when I get to my charging station. Another thing the satellite navigation can do, let's say it's the morning, you're going to go to work, it actually learns the routes that you do regularly, and if it can spot that there's traffic on one of the routes that you would be doing that day, it will actually send a text to your mobile phone to warn you that you need to leave earlier. That's really clever. Another feature it's got is that it can use the surround view cameras and its 5G connectivity to send you video clips if someone's trying to steal your car. One other thing that you need to know about this car is its towing capability. So electric cars aren't great for towing normally, but this one's fine. It's got a towing capacity of 2.5 tons. Now you might be thinking, gosh Matt, sounds like this car's got some amazing technology on it, and it has, but of course you have to pay for it. And if a BMW iX is a little bit expensive for you, I've actually found it a good deal on another electric SUV, and if you want to see what that is, click on the pop-out banner up there or follow the link in the description below to go to carwow. Now I've just noticed on the dash that I'm in a de-restricted part of the Autobahn, so I can put my foot down and see what that does to the remaining charge in the battery. So the top speed of this is only 200 kilometers an hour, so 124 miles an hour, which is slower than most other BMWs. Not a problem in England, but if you're German and you have a de-restricted Autobahn like I'm on now, it could be a bit frustrating. Or maybe it won't be that frustrating because that de-restricted section lasted for all of about 2 kilometers, back to 120 kilometers an hour now. At least that's good for the battery. Speaking of the battery, let's talk about charging. So if you have the iX40, you can charge it from a 7 kilowatt wall box fully in about 11 hours. However, with this bigger battery i50, it's going to take you 16 hours to fully charge it on a 7 kilowatt wall box. I think you're going to want to use some DC fast charging. Thankfully, this iX50 can charge at 200 kilowatts, so it'll go from 10% to 80% full in just 30 minutes. Now, it's the same for the iX40, though it only has 150 kilowatt charging capacity, but then it's got a smaller battery, so it just doesn't take as long to charge. The iX50 is supposed to do 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, but I'm going to see for myself using my specialist timing gear up here. I'm going to launch it. Oh, Christ almighty! Oh! Tell you what, it goes well for a big thing. 0 to 60, 4.4 seconds. So this iX does the numbers when it comes to acceleration, but what about the range? Well, I've driven today for a total of 223 kilometers, and I've got 53% of the battery remaining, but remember I started with 94% of the battery, so I've used 41%, and when I do the maths to work that out, for if I'd started with 100% and used all the battery, I reckon I would have been able to do 544 kilometers, so not too far off the maximum claim range of this car of around 600 kilometers. And if you want my real world range in old money, then it works out to 340 miles, which is pretty good. So then, what's my final verdict on the BMW iX? Should you avoid it, consider it, shortlist it, or just go right ahead and buy it? Well, I reckon you should just go right ahead and buy the iX. It's a brilliant electric SUV. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. Let me know what you think of the iX in the comments below. Click on those windows there for more videos, and click on that box there to go to Carwow to see how much money you can save on your next car.